Hello, bonjour, buongiorno, and welcome to your new wine video. This is part 2 of a two-part mini-series where we explore the wine wonders that you can find and taste from arguably the most beautiful of all wine countries in the world, Italy. Last week we talked about the white wines and sparkling wines of Italy, the Pinot Grigios, the Proseccos, and many more, and today we are going to be focusing on red wines as well as rosés, sweet wines and specialty Italian wines, after which I will give you my thoughts and views about your Italian wine selection that you will receive or have received from the Bona Wine Club. So we'll start with chapter 4 because the former 3 chapters are in the previous club's video from last week. Let's go! The key word to describe Italian wine, generally speaking, for all colors is diversity. Virtually every wine region, sometimes every village, has its own grape variety or its own variant of a renowned grape variety which is absolutely unique in the world of wine, and this is particularly true of red wines. There are over 500 documented Italian grapes in use right now for winemaking in Italy. Here are some of the main Italian red wine types that you should have in mind and consider exploring further if you want to learn more and enjoy the variety of Italian red wines. And let's start off with the finest of all Italian red grape varieties, Nebbiolo. Nebbiolo is a rather rare type of grape that only grows well and makes great wine in a very specific terroir. It needs specific soils and a specific climate to grow really well. This is exactly why it's only found in the northern part of Italy, in the Piedmont wine region specifically, and virtually not seen anywhere outside of Italy and outside of the north. The big names for Nebbiolo are 2 villages, Barolo and Barbaresco, making the best examples. Those are very dense, very tannic reds, packed full of intense flavors of rose petal and cherry, but also savory notes like licorice and chocolate. They are extremely complex wines, quite rare and very demanded all around the world, so they are also collectible, age-worthy wine. If you want to experience how fine Italian wine can be, Nebbiolo you should try, and the good thing is there is one in your Bona Wine Club selection. But we'll get back to this in a minute. Another very popular Italian red wine style coming out of the north of Italy around the historic city of Verona, the city of Romeo and Juliet, are the wines of Valpolicella, and the wines called Amarone della Valpolicella in particular. So those are made from grapes that are dried on trays for a few weeks before fermentation, and this is a very unique process in the world of wine, giving birth to extremely dense, oily, flavorsome, but also very smooth and pleasing wines. So lovers of ample and rich red wines absolutely love Amarone all around the world. So if you haven't tried one of those Amarones yet, I certainly recommend you give it a go at some point. They are actually fantastic wines. I absolutely love them. Then if we go a little bit south to the center of Italy, we were in the north, now we're going in the center. There stands obviously the wonderful region of Tuscany, home of the most famous Italian wine, beloved by Leonardo da Vinci himself, Chianti. But Tuscany is not all about Chianti wine, far from it. There is actually an amazing variety of wines made within Tuscany. So Chianti is an area between Florence and Siena in stunning hilly landscapes with a relatively continental climate because it's a little bit inland. But if you go on the coast, the wines are very different. So there are many different but important styles produced around the region of Tuscany, such as the wines from Brunello di Montalcino, Vino Nobile di Montepulciano, for example. Both of those are based on Sangiovese grape, the same as in Chianti, but also there are wines made in Bulgaria, made from Bordeaux grapes like Cabernet Sauvignon and Merlot, surprisingly. And that's not nearly it at all for Italian wine. Going down further south are many other very popular and very fine styles of Italian reds, maybe a little bit lesser known, made from local grapes such as, just to name a few, Montepulciano in the Abruzzo region, or Primitivo, which is a cousin of the famous California Zinfandel, That's extremely good in the Puglia region down in the heel of the Italian boot. There's also Aglianico based wines around the city of Naples, like in the appellation of Taurasi, and fantastic reds coming out of Sicily too, such as those made from the Nero d'Avola, for example. So those are just some of the many Italian red wine wonders. First, a quick word on rosé. Italy does make some rosé wines, even though they don't naturally stand out on the global international rosé wine scene. But some of them are very, very good ones and traditional, such as the Bardolino Chiaretto, for example, or Cerasuolo d'Abruzzo, just to name a couple. Like all wines in Italy, the rosés are always interesting and characterful with these distinctive flavor profiles because of the local grapes they use to make them. But rosé is not per se one of Italy's wine forte, generally speaking, if we compare this to France, for example, and the famous Provence and many other rosé wines. What Italy is great at though is making sweet and specialty wines. You know, while in most other European countries, while each wine region has sort of specialized into making one type of wine that they do really well, if you think of Bordeaux or Burgundy, while the Italians, and they're always small family-owned properties, well, most of the time, they've always looked for traditional ways to make some sweet wines, and that's true everywhere around the country. So one of the ways they've done that is by drying some of the crops, some of the grapes, somewhere around the winery, and even often at home, because they often made wine at home, il vino della casa, while they dried those grapes in the attic. And this method gave birth to the characteristic Passito style. Sweet, rich, concentrated wines because they're made from dried grapes. And they are fantastic Passito wines that are made virtually everywhere, each region and each winery going for its own slightly different method and style. The archetypical style to illustrate this is the famous Vinsanto, or understand holy wine, made in Tuscany. Many wineries make a small quantity of sweet white wines that they age for a very long time, years and years in barrel, and that they often only sell at the winery or their regular customers. Those are slightly sweet, but also very savory and very spicy, loads of sweet Christmas pudding kind of spices. Absolutely fascinating wines to taste. There are also many local styles everywhere, such as the Recioto della Valpolicella, same area as the Amarone, which is a sweet red, or the Passito di Pantelleria, which is made in Sicily, an extremely rich sweet wine made from the super fragrant, exuberant Muscat grapes. There are also a myriad of very different styles, such as the famous sweet sparkling reds of Lambrusco, made near Bologna, and of course let's not forget the Italian specialty that are vermouth wine, you know, like the Martini, which is one of the many vermouths that are made in Italy, which are indeed made from wine and obviously aromatized with some herbs and botanicals. So as this video probably, and I hope, illustrated with this immense diversity of Italian wine that we've talked about, well, it would have been impossible to encapsulate the whole of Italy into one selection of 6 Italian wine bottles. What you will find with your shipment from the Bonner Wine Club though is a taste and I hope a real sense of the variety that we've talked about that exists in Italy. So the box will include 5 different types of wines made in Tuscany. So there is a Chianti Classico, the real essence and the heart of Tuscany, as well as a Chianti Classico Riserva, which is the reserve version of a Chianti, so you can taste the difference between these two very traditional, essential styles of Tuscan wines. But you will have also a Brunello di Montalcino, which is a wine made from same grape as Chianti, but in a different part of Tuscany, much warmer, giving a totally different, richer style of wine. And you will have a wine made from Syrah, a French grape, and a Cabernet Sauvignon, a Bordeaux grape, but also made in Tuscany. So those are the 5 different Tuscan wines, showing you how incredibly different wines can be made around Tuscany. Even France or Spain virtually never have such a variety of styles within one single region, and you will get a taste of it. I'm sure you will feel it when you try those wines. There is a Barolo wine in there as well, you know, this rare and demanded wine style from the north of the country I was telling you about earlier, which will give you a sense of how different wines can be from one region to another region. So you have a wine that is not from Tuscany, completely different region, so it gives you a sense of this immense diversity that I've been trying to demonstrate. So this Barolo will also demonstrate how fine and complex, how high the quality of Italian wine can go. On top of that, these wines have been really individually cherry-picked one by one for their remarkable quality and their character. They've been chosen directly from local producers. So all those wines aren't wines that you'll easily find at any restaurant or any wine shop. They should really self-explain the passion and the tradition that's gone into making them when you try them eventually. And I made a very detailed video tasting of these 6 different wines, which will be available to you to watch soon, so you can hear and learn more about these wines, flavors, and also their background stories. And I'll leave it there for today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you soon in the wonderful world of wine. Cheers! Salute!